Have you ever looked at a man and thought, I can feel something is changing between us, but he still hasn't said anything? Maybe he hasn't told you he's falling for you. Maybe he hasn't made some dramatic confession. Maybe he hasn't even put a label on what's happening. But here's the truth. A man can hide his feelings with his mouth, but his behavior will eventually expose his heart. Because when a man starts falling hard for a woman, something changes. He starts moving differently. He starts paying attention differently. He starts making space for her in places where nobody else was invited. And sometimes the woman doesn't recognize it because she's waiting for 3 simple words. I love you. But what if he's already showing you the beginning of love before he ever says it? What if the little things you've been questioning are actually the biggest clues? The way he remembers something you casually mentioned weeks ago. The way he checks on you when you didn't ask him to. The way he starts protecting your peace. The way he becomes interested in your world instead of only trying to bring you into his. That's why today I want you to pay attention. Because if he's doing these 10 things, there's a strong possibility that this man isn't simply enjoying your company. He may be falling for you. And the first sign is one most women overlook because it doesn't look romantic at first. He starts remembering the little things. A man who is only casually interested might remember what you look like. He might remember where you work. He might remember the obvious things. But a man who is emotionally invested starts remembering details you didn't even expect him to notice. You tell him once that you hate a certain kind of food, and months later he remembers. You mention that you have an important meeting coming up, and he asks how it went. You casually tell him that something makes you nervous, and later he checks on you before that situation happens. That's not accidental. Attention is one of the clearest forms of emotional investment. When someone becomes important to you, your mind naturally starts collecting information about them. You remember their preferences. You remember their stories. You remember their fears. You remember what makes them smile. And you remember what hurts them. That's why you shouldn't only listen to what a man says about how he feels. Watch what he remembers. Because when a man is falling for you, you begin taking up mental space in his life, even when you aren't physically around. He may not say, I've been thinking about you all day. But suddenly, he remembers that little story you told him 3 weeks ago. That is his behavior talking. The second sign is that he starts making time for you instead of simply finding time for you. There's a difference. Everybody is busy. Everybody has responsibilities. Everybody has work, family, stress, obligations, and things competing for their attentions. So don't judge a man's interest by whether he has a completely empty schedule. Judge it by whether he consistently creates space for you. Because when a man genuinely values you, you stop being something he squeezes into his life only when everything else is finished. He starts making you part of the life he already has. Maybe he calls you during his lunch break. Maybe he checks in after work. Maybe he plans something ahead of time because he knows he wants to see you. Maybe he rearranges something occasionally because spending time with you matters. And no, this doesn't mean he has to abandon his responsibilities. A healthy man should still have his own life. But when you matter to him, you will feel his effort. You won't constantly have to beg for attention. You won't always be wondering where you stand. You won't always be the one initiating everything. Because attraction can make a man notice you. But emotional investment makes a man prioritize you. And there's a huge difference between those 2 things. The third sign is that he starts caring about your emotional world. This is where things get deeper. A man who is only interested in your appearance may compliment your beauty. A man who is becoming emotionally attached becomes curious about your mind. He asks how you're really doing, not just, you good? He wants to understand what's behind your answer. He notices when your energy changes. He can tell when something is bothering you. And sometimes he may even ask questions because he doesn't want to assume. That matters. Because emotional curiosity means he's not simply interested in having access to you. He's interested in knowing you. There's a woman every man can find attractive, but the woman who gets into his heart is the woman whose inner world becomes important to him. He wants to know what motivates you, what scares you, what makes you happy, what you dream about, what you've been through, what you want your future to look like. And when he starts asking those questions, pay attention, because he's moving beyond chemistry. He's trying to build emotional connection. The fourth sign is that he starts protecting your peace. Now, protecting your peace does not mean controlling you. It does not mean deciding who you can talk to. It does not mean jealousy, possessiveness, or telling you what you can and cannot do. Real care feels different. When a man is falling for you, he becomes more conscious of how his actions affect you. He doesn't want to be the reason you're constantly confused. He doesn't want to intentionally create insecurity. He doesn't want to play games just to see how much you'll chase him. He starts understanding that your emotional safety matters. Maybe he explains himself when something could be misunderstood. Maybe he communicates instead of disappearing. Maybe he apologizes when he realizes he hurt you. Maybe he starts avoiding unnecessary drama because he knows you deserve peace. That is maturity. And it's one of the strongest signs that his feelings are becoming serious. Because when a man only wants your attention, he thinks about what he can get from you. When he starts caring deeply, he begins thinking about what his presence does to you. There's a difference. One is about possession. The other is about consideration. The fifth sign is that he starts letting you see the real version of him. This is where many women underestimate the situation. Men are not always comfortable exposing their vulnerable side. A man can talk confidently about his job, his accomplishments, his plans, and his strengths. But when he starts telling you about the things he struggles with, the mistakes he regrets, the disappointments he has experienced, or the fears he rarely shares, something is happening. He's lowering the walls, and that can be significant because vulnerability requires trust. He doesn't have to tell you everything immediately. In fact, healthy emotional intimacy develops gradually. But if you notice that he's slowly becoming more open with you, don't ignore it. Maybe he tells you something personal after a conversation. Maybe he admits that something hurt him. Maybe he talks about a difficult chapter in his life. Maybe he tells you about something he normally keeps private. That means he may feel emotionally safe around you. And emotional safety is one of the foundations of genuine connection. When a man believes you won't use his vulnerability against him, he becomes more comfortable showing you the man underneath the image. And once you have access to that version of him, the relationship can move to a completely different level. But there's another sign that can reveal even more. He starts asking about your future, not just your weekend, not just what you're doing tonight, your future. He asks what kind of life you want, where you want to live, what you want to accomplish, what matters to you, what your dreams are. And sometimes he begins talking about his own future in a way that naturally creates room for you. He may say things like, one day I want to, and then he looks at you as if he's imagining whether you could be part of that picture. That doesn't automatically mean he's ready for marriage. It doesn't guarantee a relationship, but it can reveal that his mind is moving beyond the present moment because people don't usually bring someone into their future conversations unless that person has started becoming significant in their present. So listen carefully to the conversations he chooses to have with you. Sometimes the future is revealed in casual sentences. Sometimes a man will never say, I'm falling for you. Instead, he'll ask, what do you see yourself doing 5 years from now? And that question may tell you more than you realize. Because when someone becomes important to you, you naturally want to know whether your lives could fit together. And that's exactly what may be happening inside him. He's not just enjoying who you are today. He's wondering where you fit into tomorrow. And if you're seeing several of these signs at once, don't rush. Don't panic. Don't start chasing harder just because you think he might be falling. This is where your self-respect becomes powerful. You don't need to force a confession. You don't need to interrogate him about his feelings every night. You don't need to become someone you're not just to keep his attention. Let his actions speak. Because real feelings don't need to be dragged out of someone. They eventually become visible. And the woman who understands her worth doesn't spend every moment trying to convince a man to choose her. She watches. She observes. She listens. And she allows consistency to reveal the truth. Because anybody can say the right words for one night. Anybody can send a sweet message. Anybody can make a promise. But consistency tells a different story. So if he's remembering the little things, making time for you, becoming curious about your emotions, protecting your peace, opening up to you, and talking about the future, Don't ignore what his behavior may be telling you. There are still more signs, and some of them become even more powerful because they reveal what happens when life becomes difficult. Because a man's feelings aren't truly revealed when everything is easy. They're revealed when things get complicated. They're revealed when you're upset. They're revealed when he has a stressful day. They're revealed when he has nothing to gain. That's where you discover whether his connection with you is real. And if he's truly falling hard, the next signs will show you exactly how much space you're beginning to occupy in his heart. The truth about a man's feelings isn't always revealed when he's smiling at you, complimenting you, or trying to impress you. Sometimes you discover how deeply he cares when life stops being easy, because anybody can be charming when everything is going their way. Anybody can send a good morning text when they're in a good mood. Anybody can tell you that you're beautiful when they want your attention. But what happens when he's stressed? What happens when you're upset? What happens when there's a misunderstanding? That's where you start seeing the difference between temporary attraction and genuine emotional investment. And the sixth sign is this. He becomes consistent even when he doesn't have to be. Consistency is one of the most underrated forms of attraction. A man who is only chasing excitement may come in strong. He may text you constantly. He may shower you with compliments. He may make you feel like you're the only woman on earth. But then suddenly, his energy changes. One day he's all over you. The next day he's distant. One week he's making plans. The next week he barely responds. That kind of inconsistency creates confusion. And confusion is not the same thing as love. When a man is genuinely becoming attached, his behavior usually becomes more stable. He doesn't have to be perfect. He can have bad days. He can get busy. He can make mistakes. But you begin noticing a pattern. He shows up. He follows through. He communicates. He checks in. He makes an effort. And most importantly, you don't have to constantly wonder whether he still cares. That emotional stability matters. Because a woman should never have to become a detective just to understand whether a man is interested. If his feelings are real, you may not know every detail of what's happening inside his mind, but his consistent behavior will give you something solid to stand on. And here's something important. Don't confuse intensity with consistency. Intensity can feel amazing. Consistency feels safe. A man can text you until 2 a.m. and disappear for 3 days afterward. That's intensity. Another man may not write you 50 messages a day, but he checks on you regularly, keeps his promises, respects your time, and makes an effort to stay connected. That's consistency. And when a man is falling hard, consistency often becomes more important than performance. He doesn't just want to make an impression. He wants to build trust. The seventh sign is that he starts introducing you to the important parts of his life. This one can be very revealing. When a man starts falling for you, he may gradually stop keeping you in a separate little corner of his world. He begins connecting you with the people and places that matter to him. Maybe he introduces you to his close friends. Maybe he tells his family about you. Maybe he invites you into his normal routine instead of only seeing you during romantic dates. Maybe he wants you to know the places he loves, the people he trusts, and the things that make him who he is. Why? Because there's a difference between having fun with someone and integrating someone into your life. A casual connection can remain hidden. A serious connection starts becoming part of reality. And when a man begins allowing you to meet the people who matter to him, it can mean that he's becoming more comfortable with the idea of you being visible in his world. But don't turn this into a rigid rule. Some men are naturally private. Some families are complicated. Some people take longer to introduce a romantic partner to their inner circle. The real sign is whether he gradually makes room for you in the parts of his life that matter. Because when you become important, he doesn't only want to know your world. He starts wanting you to understand his. And that leads to the eighth sign. He starts seeking your opinion. This may sound simple, but it can be powerful. A man who values you doesn't just want your attention. He wants your perspective. Maybe he asks what you think about a decision he's making. Maybe he wants your opinion on something related to his work. Maybe he asks which option you prefer. Maybe he tells you about a problem and genuinely listens to what you say. Now, understand this clearly. Seeking your opinion doesn't mean he becomes dependent on you. A healthy man can make his own decisions. But when he respects you, your thoughts begin to carry weight. And that means something, because people don't usually seek meaningful input from someone they consider irrelevant. If he repeatedly says, and actually listens, he may be showing you that your voice matters to him. And when your voice matters, you are no longer just entertainment. You are becoming a trusted person. There is a huge difference between being someone a man desires and being someone a man respects. Desire can start quickly. Respect takes time. And when desire and respect begin growing together, that's when a relationship has the potential to become something much deeper. The ninth sign is that he starts trying to become better around you. This is one of the most beautiful signs because it has nothing to do with expensive gifts or dramatic declarations. Sometimes a man starts changing the small things. Maybe he becomes more responsible. Maybe he starts taking better care of himself. Maybe he works harder. Maybe he starts thinking more seriously about his future. Maybe he becomes more emotionally mature. Maybe he starts communicating better because he knows you deserve clarity. And no, you should never expect a man to completely transform himself for you. You are not his project manager. You are not his therapist. You are not responsible for fixing him. But when a man genuinely values a woman, her presence can inspire him to look at himself differently. He begins asking himself questions. Am I becoming the kind of man she deserves? Am I building the life I actually want? Am I handling my emotions correctly? Am I showing her enough respect? That internal shift can be powerful because the right connection doesn't make a man lose himself. It can motivate him to become more of himself. And sometimes the greatest evidence of his feelings isn't what he does for you. It's what he starts doing with himself because you matter to him. But there's one more sign that can reveal whether he's becoming emotionally serious. And this one is about conflict. The 10th sign is that he doesn't run at the first sign of disagreement. Now, let's be very clear. Nobody should tolerate disrespect, manipulation, emotional abuse, or repeated unhealthy behavior. Walking away from something toxic can be strength. But healthy relationships will have misunderstandings. Two people can care about each other and still disagree. Two people can love each other and still have different opinions. The real question is not whether conflict happens. The question is what he does when conflict happens. A man who is only interested in convenience may disappear the moment things become uncomfortable. He may avoid difficult conversations. He may give you the silent treatment. He may make you feel like your feelings are a burden. But a man who is becoming deeply invested may approach disagreement differently. He may want to understand what happened. He may explain himself. He may listen. He may apologize when he's wrong. He may try to find a solution instead of simply trying to win. Why? Because when you matter, losing the connection matters too. He doesn't see every disagreement as an excuse to leave. He sees it as something the two of you need to work through. That doesn't mean he'll always handle conflict perfectly. Nobody does. But you'll notice an effort. An effort during difficult moments can tell you more than romance during easy moments. Anybody can hold your hand when the relationship is exciting. But who stays emotionally present when you're frustrated? Who listens when you're hurt? Who takes responsibility when he makes a mistake? Who tries to repair what he damaged? That is where emotional investment becomes visible. And there's another subtle thing that can happen when a man is falling hard. He starts becoming protective of the connection itself. Not possessive, not controlling. Protective. He doesn't want unnecessary misunderstandings to destroy something meaningful. He becomes more careful with his words. He may communicate sooner instead of letting resentment grow. He may tell you when something bothers him rather than pretending everything is fine. He may ask questions instead of making assumptions. That's because he's beginning to understand that relationships require maintenance. You can't build something meaningful and then treat it carelessly. And when a man starts treating your connection like something valuable, that's a major shift. Because now he isn't only thinking about what he wants from the relationship. He's thinking about what the relationship needs. That is maturity. That is emotional investment. And that is often where feelings become serious. But there's something you need to remember before you interpret all of these signs. Do not fall in love with potential. Fall in love with patterns. A man can do 10 wonderful things one week and disappear the next. That doesn't create security. A man can say he wants a future with you and still fail to treat you with respect. Words are important, but patterns are stronger. So don't watch one moment. Watch the pattern. Does he consistently show up? Does he respect your boundaries? Does he make an effort? Does he communicate? Does he remember what matters to you? Does he care about your emotional well-being? Does he include you in his world? Does he respect your opinion? Does he work on himself? Does he handle conflict with maturity? When those things repeatedly show up together, you're looking at something much more meaningful than simple attraction. You're looking at emotional investment. And if you recognize many of these behaviors in the man you're dealing with, don't suddenly change your entire personality. Don't start over-texting him. Don't become obsessed with analyzing every message. Don't start testing him. Don't create jealousy just to see whether he reacts. And don't chase a confession. Let him reveal himself. Because when a man is genuinely falling for you, you don't have to force the truth out of him. His behavior begins telling the story for him. The strongest position you can take is to remain grounded in your own worth. Enjoy the connection. Be open. Be warm. Communicate honestly. But don't abandon yourself just because someone is showing interest. A relationship should add to your life, not become your entire identity. And if he really is falling hard for you, the woman he falls for should be the real you, not the version of you that is constantly trying to impress him, not the version that is afraid to speak, not the version that accepts anything because she's scared of losing him, the real you. Because real love cannot be built on performance. It has to be built on truth. And once you understand that, you stop asking, how do I make him fall for me? And you start asking a much more powerful question. Is the way he loves me worthy of the woman I am becoming? That question changes everything, because you're not just looking for a man who wants you. You're looking for a man who values you. You're not looking for someone who becomes obsessed for a week. You're looking for someone whose character remains consistent over time. And you're not looking for someone who simply knows how to make your heart race. You're looking for someone who knows how to protect the heart he has been trusted with. That's the difference between attention and intention. And when a man moves from attention to intention, you can feel it. You can see it. You can recognize it, because suddenly you're not carrying the entire relationship on your shoulders. He is meeting you halfway. Sometimes he's even walking toward you. And when that happens, you don't have to chase. You don't have to beg. You don't have to compete. You simply allow his actions to reveal what his words may not yet be ready to say. There comes a moment in every connection when you stop wondering whether he likes you and start noticing how deeply he values you. And that moment doesn't always arrive with a dramatic confession. Sometimes it arrives quietly. It's in the way he looks at you when you're not paying attention. It's in the way he remembers what you said. It's in the way he makes room for you. It's in the way he listens. It's in the way he handles you when you're vulnerable. And most importantly, it's in the way he treats you when there's nothing to gain. Because attraction is easy to fake for a moment. Commitment is not. Attention can be temporary. Consistency requires intention. And words can be rehearsed. Character cannot. So if you've been seeing these signs from a man, don't immediately jump to conclusions. Instead, step back and look at the entire picture. Is he consistent? Does he respect you? Does he listen? Does he make you feel emotionally safe? Does he keep his promises? Does he care about your dreams? Does he make an effort when life gets difficult? Does he want to know the real you? Does he allow you to know the real him? Those questions matter more than whether he sends you 100 messages a day. Because a man can text you constantly and still not be serious. A man can compliment you every morning and still not know how to respect you. A man can tell you that you're beautiful and still not be capable of giving you emotional security. So don't measure his feelings only by how much attention he gives you. Measure them by the quality of his character. That is where the real answer lives. And there's something else every woman needs to understand. If he's truly falling for you, you should not have to become smaller to keep him. You shouldn't have to silence your opinions. You shouldn't have to pretend you don't need anything. You shouldn't have to accept disrespect because you're afraid that setting a boundary will make him leave. You shouldn't have to compete with other women for basic consideration. You shouldn't have to constantly prove that you are worthy of being chosen, The right man does not require you to abandon yourself to earn his love. He will appreciate your softness without taking advantage of it. He will respect your strength without being threatened by it. He will admire your independence without trying to control it. And he will understand that loving you does not mean owning you. It means choosing you with respect. That's why your job is not to manipulate a man into falling in love. Your job is to pay attention to whether his actions are showing you something worth building on. Because there are women who spend months trying to decode a man who gives them nothing but mixed signals. And then they convince themselves that confusion means chemistry. It doesn't. Confusion is confusion. If you constantly feel anxious, uncertain, and emotionally exhausted, that is information too. Don't ignore the negative signs simply because you're hoping for the positive ones. A man who is falling for you may still have flaws. He may still be learning. He may still be afraid. He may still struggle to communicate. But you should be able to see movement. You should be able to see effort. You should be able to see respect. You should be able to see growth. Because love is not perfection. Love is intention expressed through action. And sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is stop trying to predict what he feels and simply observe what he does. Let him show you if he cares. Let him demonstrate it. If he wants to know you, let him ask questions. If he wants to spend time with you, let him make the effort. If he wants a future with you, let his behavior gradually create evidence. You don't need to drag the relationship forward. You don't need to carry both sides. A relationship is supposed to have two people walking toward each other. And if you're always walking toward him while he stands still, that isn't love, that's pursuit. There's a difference. And knowing the difference can save your heart. Never confuse potential with commitment. Never confuse chemistry with compatibility. Never confuse attention with intention. And never confuse being desired with being valued. You deserve all four things to align. You deserve attraction that comes with respect. You deserve communication that comes with consistency. You deserve affection that comes with emotional safety. And you deserve a relationship where you don't have to constantly question your worth. So if he's doing these 10 things, pay attention. If he remembers the little details, he's listening. If he makes time for you, he's prioritizing the connection. If he cares about your emotions, he's getting emotionally invested. If he protects your peace, he understands your value. If he opens up, he trusts you. If he talks about the future, he may be considering where you fit into it. If he stays consistent, he's showing intention. If he introduces you to important parts of his life, he may be integrating you into his world. If he values your opinion, he respects your mind. If he works on himself and handles conflict with maturity, he may be showing that the relationship matters enough to grow for. But remember this, no single sign is a guarantee. People are complicated. Relationships are complicated. And the only way to truly know what someone feels is through honest communication and consistent behavior over time. So enjoy the signs, appreciate the connection, but keep your standards. Because your standards are not there to scare the right man away. They are there to reveal the right man, the man who truly values you. Won't be intimidated by your self-respect. He won't need you to chase him. He won't need you to compete. He won't need you to constantly prove yourself. He will recognize your value through the way you carry yourself. And when a man is falling hard for a woman who knows her worth, something powerful happens. He doesn't just want her attention. He wants to become someone worthy of keeping it. That's the difference. A woman who knows her worth doesn't need to manipulate love. She doesn't need to play games. She doesn't need to disappear just to make him chase. She doesn't need to pretend she doesn't care. She simply refuses to accept less than what she deserves. And that confidence is powerful because the right man doesn't fall for your desperation. He falls for your authenticity. He falls for the woman who can love deeply without losing herself. He falls for the woman who can be soft without being weak. He falls for the woman who has standards without becoming cold. He falls for the woman who can give affection without begging for validation. And most importantly, he falls for the woman who knows that her worth existed before he ever walked into her life. So don't spend your days obsessing over whether he is falling for you. Ask yourself whether the way he treats you makes you feel respected. Ask yourself whether his presence brings peace or constant anxiety. Ask yourself whether his actions match his words. Ask yourself whether you can be yourself around him. Ask yourself whether he is building with you or simply benefiting from you. Those questions will tell you more than any romantic text ever could. Because at the end of the day, you don't need a man who simply says he wants you. You need a man who demonstrates that he values you. And there is a huge difference. A man can desire your body. A man can enjoy your attention. A man can love the way you make him feel. But when a man truly values you, he becomes concerned with your heart. He becomes careful with your trust. He becomes intentional with his actions. He understands that having access to a woman's heart is a privilege, not a right. And when you find that kind of connection, you don't have to force it. You don't have to rush it. You don't have to convince it. You allow it to grow slowly, naturally, honestly, because the strongest relationships are not built by two people desperately trying to keep each other. They are built by two people freely choosing each other again and again. And if he is secretly falling hard for you, eventually his actions will become too loud to ignore. His consistency will speak. His effort will speak. His respect will speak. His vulnerability will speak. His priorities will speak. His patience will speak. And one day, you may realize that you were never waiting for him to say the words. He had been showing you the answer all along. So don't chase the confession. Watch the behavior. Don't beg for attention. Observe the effort. Don't compete for his love. Protect your standards. And don't lose yourself trying to become the woman you think he wants. Become the woman you are proud to be, because the right man won't need you to become less powerful for him to feel like a man. He will admire your confidence. He will respect your boundaries. He will appreciate your softness. He will value your mind. He will protect the trust between you. And he will make his intentions clearer through consistent action. That is the kind of connection worth believing in. And if you're currently watching a man slowly open up, slowly become consistent, slowly make space for you, remember this. You don't have to rush the process. Let it unfold. Let time reveal character. Let consistency reveal intention. Let actions reveal feelings. And let your standards protect your heart while everything develops. Because love that is real does not require you to lose yourself to keep it. It gives you room to become more yourself. And when a man is truly falling for you, he doesn't just want to be close to you. He wants to build something that deserves to last. So keep your heart open, but keep your eyes open too. Believe actions. Respect consistency. Watch character. And never forget who you were before someone decided they wanted a place in your life. You are not waiting to be chosen. You are deciding who deserves access to you. And when the right man comes along, you won't have to convince him of your value. He will recognize it. He will respect it. And if he's truly falling hard for you, you won't have to chase him into loving you. He will be walking toward you, one intentional action at a time.